When you make decisions for your company, you look for the no-brainers. And if you have a lot of mailing to do, Stamps.com is the ultimate no-brainer. Mail checks, invoices, documents, and everything you need to keep your business running. Get rates up to 89% off USPS and UPS. And with the mobile app, you can take care of mailing on the go. Make the same no-brainer decisions as over 1 million other businesses with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com with code PROGRAM for a special offer. That's Stamps.com, code PROGRAM.
We made this.
Welcome to We Are Starfleet. I'm your host, Mike Slammer.
And I'm Ian Buckley.
That you are. Our podcast looks at the ethos and canon of Star Trek Discovery while recapping and reviewing the episodes for your listening pleasure. We recently had some great guests on the podcast, so I encourage you to check out previous episodes if this is your first time listening. You can join in the conversation on Twitter and Instagram at Starfleet Pod. Ian, big episode. Are you excited to chat about this one today?
Yeah, Terra Firma Part One was big in a lot of ways. A lot of big performances, a lot of big turns and twists in the narrative, in the direction of the season as a whole. I don't think either one of us had Mirror Universe on our bingo cards before this season began. So, yeah, this was a fun one.
Yeah, fun is the operative word that I keep coming back to when thinking and talking about this episode with other folks, like on our Discord channel, and that's all this episode really was. And because it was fun, everything was amped up, everything was exciting, everything was cool, and even some of the slower points of the episode, I felt they were just fine the way they were.
Yeah, I thought tonally even, I'd agree. I thought every scene pretty much worked in this episode. I thought tonally, even when things weren't going crazy, when we got when we got to the Mirror Universe, the first half of the episode really was all that was handled really well. Set up the sort of B and C through lines that will be carried through into next episode and beyond in some cases. And the sort of A story of Georgiou dealing with her past, her ailment, and this and confronting the Mirror Universe yet again in her own past. Pretty compelling stuff.
Yeah. Really excited to see where this is going. Terra Firma, Part 1 of 2, written by Boyan Kim and Erica Lapolt and Alan McElroy. Directed by Omar Mata, and it aired on December 10th, 2020. My overall impression of this episode, going back to very strong original series and early Next Generation energy here. You got magical beings offering mystery portals on empty planets.
Yeah.
That is Squire Agathos, that is Tapestry, that is Guardian on the Edge of Forever, and we're going to talk about that obviously. But it was, fun, man. It had great energy. And our girl, Oyin Oladeo, stole every scene she was in without even saying a word.
Yeah, the looks, man. The looks she was giving. Woo. We got to ask her about that.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we definitely going to send her an email and see if she'd want to fit us into her production schedule.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. So back to some social media bits over on Reddit. User SidV81 said, if they're going to rescue Prime Lorca, this is the time to do it. The only question is, what would his role on the Discovery be? He goes on to say it would most realistically be first officer, as even Tilly's position was said to be temporary. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't be surprised if he makes an appearance. If Lorca, in general makes an appearance in the second episode of this two-parter, but I would be surprised if this is how they got Prime Lorca back into the universe. This doesn't really seem to be how this is working. I don't know. Like, it's clear that she can die, but it's not clear that what she's going through is real, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, I don't know necessarily that. Well, first of all, this is before the crossover, so Prime Lorca wouldn't even be here. But I don't know if that's how this portal that she's gone through works. I don't think there's other people she can bring back through it, even if she wanted to. Also saw on Reddit that similar to what you were saying earlier, this people were digging the TOS TNG vibes. Tired Wired Runs Easy said Carl might be the most TOS guest character this show's ever had. Also happy to see Muskoka chairs are still a thing in 1,000 years. But yeah, Carl's appearance, played by Paul Guilfoyle.
Paul Guilfoyle.
Yeah, appearing, reading the Star Dispatch newspaper, last seen in the TOS episode City on the Edge of Forever. The whole vibe that he had, the enigmatic answers, the speaking in riddles, all of that was very reminiscent of these sorts of omnipotent creatures, beings that we've seen elsewhere in TOS and TNG. Some of the other series too, but those series really, especially early on, leaned heavily into those sorts of characters.
They did. I saw a very good comment on Twitter leading exactly where I think the show is going. At DisGuy1972 says, I think this is the Giorgio redemption arc. They're going to show her character growth so she is a more palatable series lead for Section 31.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I certainly, one of the things I did find compelling was, throwing her back into her old world, seeing how she has changed. She's confronted with how she has changed. And, it seems that she, we'll get into it as we discuss what happens in the episode. But by the end of the episode, she seems to be in this place of, no, I'm going to have it both ways. I don't have to be quite as cruel as I was, but I don't, have to not be, the complete and undisputed ruler of this domain. She may not be successful in her ambitions there. We'll see. But yeah, that seems to be the kind of direction that they're going with that. And it's cool to see.
Yeah. I can't disagree with anything there. What else did you see?
Saw also on Twitter at John W. Mentor said that Sonequa Martin Green was really playing the evil to the max in this episode. He loved getting to properly see the mirror counterparts of everyone, which we didn't really get as much of last time. Even though we spent more time in the mirror universe in season 1, we didn't actually see, sort of like we didn't see in the Prime universe in season 1, much of the bridge crew. So getting to see... and also now we've gotten to know them a little bit better, so seeing their counterparts has more of an impact on us as viewers.
Sure. I definitely, the final sequence with the showdown in the corridor between Giorgio and Burnham, the mirror Michael Burnham, the way that Sonequa Martin Green played the character, the camera was like centered, Sonequa's face centered on screen, and you've got that wild blue eyeshadow.
Yeah.
And, she's got those crazy eyes staring at you. I was so unsettled. My wife was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is wild. And man, I tell you, the first thing that came to my mind, my friend Jay, he's a huge Batman fan.
Yeah, Joker,
we
sure.
have a Batman podcast.
Yeah, see a lot of that.
The Joker.
Yeah, see
Joker.
A lot of that online. Totally. Yeah, hard not to make that connection. Wildly unhinged in a really delightful way. I can appreciate some people might, in general with the Mirror Universe episodes, a lot of people think that it's a little much, and it is. Of course it is. But if you can buy into it, it's so fun.
It really is. And I think that's kind of the point, like the actors are clearly having like the best time of their lives, Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's easy to play into that kind of role.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
You know, when it's campy, when it's off the wall, you know, like it's easy to get into that kind of a character.
Right.
Shall we get to it?
Let's get into the episode.
Let's do it. Take us away, sir.
Yeah. So pretty much right where we left off last week with Georgiou, she and Culber basically stepped to the side once she discovered that she is apparently dying, and we pick right up with that. David Cronenberg is back to explain that Georgiou is ailing due to her shift in both time and dimension.
Right.
We learned that, as we've seen suggested in other shows like Voyager in particular, you know, time travel we learn has deleterious effects, especially over time when it's being done repeatedly, or when you're entering, you know, multiple different timelines repeatedly. You know, but Georgiou similarly is having difficulty because she's not only jumped, you know, 1,000 years into the future, but is in a completely different universe from, you know, where her body kind of belongs in a sense. And he brings up this example of a Lieutenant Commander Yor, who is a time soldier who we learn originated in the Kelvin timeline, which is a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah. All the Kelvin timeline haters can suck it. It's canon now. It's
canon
super
now.
canon. It's in Star Trek TV series.
Yep.
That means it's super canon.
That's it. You can't argue with it.
And poor Lieutenant Commander Yor apparently died an agonizing death as a result of his transitions in both time and dimension. So
yes, he was so much so that he petitioned the Federation for euthanasia.
Yeah. We don't really learn how he gets into the prime timeline. That could be an interesting story, but he wasn't able to be sent back to his – we learned that he wasn't able to be sent back to his Kelvin timeline because of the interdimensional displacement restriction, which apparently was part of the temporal accords. Another time that these temporal accords are brought up, I feel like they're setting up something here. Especially with the commentary that the temporal accords are ironclad.
Yes,
they're just putting a little bit too – I'm not complaining, but just I feel like in order for it to be nothing, you know, they'd be putting less of an emphasis on it. They're just bringing it up a few too many times throughout the season for me to think that that there's nothing there.
It doesn't exactly sound like the Federation that allowed Riker's son to die, mentioned in Star Trek Picard Nepenthe. You know, it's very much the same line of, well, we signed an agreement not to allow synthetic technology and synthetics, you know, into being. Therefore, you know, the medicine and the treatment that would have cured Riker's son wasn't available. You know, and the same type of situation here where the Federation is rigidly saying the temporal accords exist and therefore you have to die because we can't break it.
Yeah. Pretty.
So some interesting takeaways. This feels a little bit more like, you know, the Federation, maybe Starfleet, they got a little bit too rigid and they started following the rules too much. And that was kind of a running, maybe not complaint or something to that effect, and bear with me here. So the original series, you know, very cowboy diplomacy. You were on the frontier. You had leeway and lateral movement able to you. By Picard's era, there was a lot more regulation involved. You know, the Federation was larger. You had a lot more individuals to take care of. So things got a little bit more by the book in Picard's era. And then, you know, Voyager, DS9, obviously we had, you know, Dominion War, you know, you had the Borg incursions, and there was all these things that happened, and the Federation, instead of, you know, giving leeway to its forces and to its captains, kind of put barriers and guardrails in place in order to control everything that they possibly could. And maybe they were trying to control too much, you know, and somehow we lead up to the burn and then whatever happens. I'm just thinking of like some kind of a thread that's coming through here. And it sounds to me, the evidence presented, that the Federation is just being too controlling. They're trying to micromanage everything.
Yeah, whenever there's something that's too rigid, too stiff, it becomes brittle and it can break.
Yep. Anyway, it's kind of unclear as to David Cronenberg's character, which we get the name of Kovich, right? So it's unclear to what his role is. You know, he's some kind of medical temporal scientist, and he's able to give that exposition in classic Star Trek fashion.
He's got to be some sort of Section 31 type guy.
Right,
there's something going on with him.
Yeah, and even he's just a really smart guy who I feel knows increasingly more than he lets on, and I kind of get the impression that there's nothing that he doesn't already know. Yeah,
few things. He's clearly surprised when he learns, as we see a little bit later in this scene, that Georgiou's disease may not be the absolute death sentence that he tells Culber it is.
Sure. It's kind of interesting how Culber turns to the ship's computer for an answer as to, how they could help Georgiou. And the ship's computer has now merged with the Spear data, and the Spear data, of course, is calling itself Zora. Cool moment here where the ship's computer comes back in her little sing-song voice and gives a location, a planet by the name of Danis 5. And then here is some kind of cure, some type of solution for Georgiou with only a 5% chance of success. So it's important to note here that to David Cronenberg's character, Kovich, he says 0% chance survival. Ship's computer, Zora, says 5%. So interesting takeaway there.
Yeah, it's a narrow chance, but it's a chance, and it's the only one that they have. And it's interesting because we have this idea, this Danis 5, possible solution for Georgiou, presented to Saru and presented to Admiral Vance, and Saru initially quashes the idea of making a trek to Danis 5, which we learn is close to the Gamma Quadrant. And it's Admiral Vance who steps in and allows Disco to pursue this possible solution. Again, another learning opportunity for Saru. Vance takes this as an opportunity to point out to Saru that if he allows, he uses the analogy of if you allow a crew member to drown and the crew sees that he allowed it, and the crew won't look at him the same way, and he won't look at himself the same way. And we get the sense that Vance bears the burden of past mistakes here.
Yeah, Admiral Vance drops some great wisdom here. And as a result, I have officially unsubscribed from any conspiracy theory that involves Admiral Vance being some kind of a bad guy.
Yeah, this episode, I had a similar reaction. I watched that scene, and I was like, I don't buy that this guy's actually a bad guy. I think he was just chilly at first and has slowly been warming up, and that's fine with me. I think that's because I really didn't want, I was dreading that potential turn.
I know.
I really didn't want a heel turn for Admiral Vance, and I'm glad that it seems like we're not on that path.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of fans, a lot of forums, they've been lighting up, especially Reddit, like basically just waiting for the episode where, we learn that this is the bad guy Federation. And this late in the season, this late in the game, this scene with Admiral Vance, I mean, I finally feel like, okay, it's not going to happen. Like at this point, if it was, it probably would have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking that at worst, maybe they knew a little bit more. Maybe we learned that they knew a little bit more about the cause of the burn than they let on.
Right.
And were hiding it because they were the cause of it, maybe, and they didn't want that to get out because then whatever was left of the Federation would have been destroyed by everyone else in the galaxy. Something like that I could potentially see. But I think full-blown villain is off the table at this point.
Yeah, and, regarding the Andorian Rin's comments about the Federation, like, they always want something for something, they don't just help, right? I do think that it's possible that, the previous generations, maybe post the burn, Starfleet kind of hightailed it and,
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
had to make choices about who lived and who died in that moment.
Right. It could be
and
that,
of course,
it could be that the Andorians banded with the Orions because the Federation abandoned the Andorians first.
Right.
We don't know yet exactly what happened.
Right. It could be, there's still a lot to learn. And I think that's one of the things I'm really liking about this season of Discovery is that every episode we're getting a little bit more. We're getting another clue. We're filling in the pieces of the puzzle as opposed to just an entire episode of somebody telling you what the state of Cardassia is, Yeah. I don't know. I got a big bone to pick with people on Reddit complaining like, I want to know what's going on Kronos. I want to know what's going on in the Gamma Quadrant.
It's unreal. Like there's not going to be an info dump about all that. Like let them set the table a little bit. You're going to learn bits and pieces, and then honestly, some of that stuff is just going to get built out in the EU.
Yeah, exactly. Although, to that point, I will say it does feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity considering that the planet that they go to is in the Gamma Quadrant or close to the Gamma Quadrant. So it feels like there could have been a name drop.
Yeah, it's funny because they clearly try to walk this line of not wanting to make the universe seem absurdly small by constantly referencing planets that we'll recognize. But at the same time, you have a show where the entire universe seems to revolve around one or two characters. So it's already a show that feels a little bit small, because of how intimate it is and how, focused in it is on these characters and how they fit into the universe at large. It seems like they fit into it, intrinsically. And yeah, it does feel like a little bit of a missed opportunity let's drop a little DS9 reference in there. That's my favorite series. I'd love some more DS9 references. The Gamma Quadrant was nice. Let's hear a little bit more. Let's take that a little further.
In the mess hall, there's a whole scene that takes place with Georgiou as she's struggling to lift a glass of wine, and she gets frustrated and knocks it aside because her hand is starting to do that interphasing.
Yeah, she's kind of phasing out of existence.
Going crazy. Yeah, and Tilly, sees this, comes over, and there's a bit of awkwardness here because Tilly is sweet girl. She's like, "Let me help you, let me help you, let me help you." But Georgiou, she's a Terran, and she's going to reject this kind of help out of hand. Like help for a Terran means something entirely different. So, she throws the wine and the food at Tilly, and she also name drops Tilly's Mirror Universe nickname, Killy, which I gotta say, in retrospect, I should have seen as the foreshadowing it is.
She prods at, I'm sure, something that Tilly has in the back of her mind as an insecurity of, you were the least qualified person who could have possibly been picked to be XO, and you're going to get someone killed, and they're going to end up calling you Killy anyway. Georgiou does a really good job of zeroing in on everybody's issues in this episode. That's all she does is just pick at scabs on other people.
Yep. Yep. I mean, there's no one better than her.
No, and she does it really well in this episode. I thought the way they wrote her character in this episode, it was, Giorgio, with as much respect as I have for Michelle Yeoh, especially in season 3, has probably been my least favorite single individual element.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of don't know why she's here. And if they're giving her a reason now, great. I'm eager to find it out. But also just the constant attitude that she has, just the constant stank on everything.
I know.
It gets exhausting. She was really well calibrated in this episode. I thought she and the writing and performance both were really dialed in really well here. I thought she was a lot of fun. Didn't grate on me at all.
And the nice thing about this episode is it's from Giorgio's point of view, as opposed to, us being on the crew of the Discovery and being like, oh, there's
right,
Giorgio,
exactly. Like this episode is clearly her story. We get that from the very beginning. So, to me, there's never any question of why are we spending all this time with her? Well, it's her episode. Nobody else could be on this mission but her. It's obvious why she's in it. So, that's probably, you're right, another reason why she doesn't really kind of annoy me in this episode at all, is because it's clear that it's her episode and she belongs in it, obviously.
Although, considering every time an episode has focused on a singular character in such a way, we are geared up for some sadness.
Yeah, we'll see. We do get some farewells between Giorgio and Saru and Tilly before she and Michael beam down to Dennis 5. I thought these were, again, some nice beats. Saru and her obviously have, as he says, a complicated past. I still don't quite buy how okay he is with talking to this woman who regularly ate members of his species, but okay. He and she have never seen eye to eye, as he says.
Yeah, Saru really plays the diplomat well in that moment. He's not admitting that he likes her or really even comes close to respecting her. Like, he very clearly feels otherwise, but he also appreciates the value that she did bring when it was brought.
I think he put it really well when he said that he learned as much from her as he did from his own Giorgio, who wasn't a murderous psychopath.
It's, just before this scene, Burnham comes to Giorgio to talk her into going on this mission, right? And it takes place in a gym where Giorgio is going crazy. She's boxing, right? And she's training, she's working this out. And there's a rack of sharp, pointy sticks and axes and knives. And this room has to be the holodeck, right? I mean, assuming Discovery got the tech upgrade, the room consists of nothing but a punching bag and sharp, pointy things. So clearly, the Discovery has been upgraded and now has a real holodeck. This is what I'm choosing to believe, not that what I know.
Well, I think you see, at least earlier in the season, I'm not sure exactly which episode now, but one of the montages, I believe this room, you see someone training with some sort of holographic opponent briefly. So if it's not a holodeck proper, it is at the very least a hologram, ready room. They're certainly
enabled.
Holography, sort of like the personal transporters, it seems to be integrated a little bit more thoroughly. So we might not see something as clear cut as a dedicated, like, this is the hologram room. We've now progressed beyond that point to where we apparently have a ship that is mostly, hologram. Apparently, we don't know how that works, but that's apparently a thing.
Right. What I like about this scene is it gives an opportunity for us to really see how Giorgio has been affected by the loss of her Michael, and how Michael has been affected by the loss of her Giorgio. And they both feel, and, they both are directly and indirectly responsible.
Yeah, there's a lot of mirroring here.
So, yeah, quite literally, right? So it's Burnham trying to reach out to Giorgio, and, show her like, hey, I care about you. I want you to be a good person. I'm trying to do right by you because I didn't do right by my own Georgiou. And it's the same thing for Georgiou and Burnham. She's trying to do right by Burnham because she never did right by the real Burnham that she cared about. Oh man, this is getting back and forth. But, I like this back to duality theme that season 1 had, where everybody has two sides kind of a situation. It's obviously much more complex in a gray area, but in terms of where we are in the story, this gives us that emotional development between the two that I feel is kind of sort of on display whenever they're on screen together, but it doesn't actually connect sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's when Discovery isn't working, it's when we're just sort of being told to connect with something on a certain level or feel something a certain way,
right?
Rather than allowing it to happen organically through story and character. And all of what they were doing in this scene and indeed in this whole episode, their dynamic was some of the best that it's been in the series.
Yeah,
I thought it was really well realized. And
when we finally beam down to the planet, there's more of this, more of this dialogue, more of this interplay between the two, which I really enjoyed. It all leads to where I think this two-parter story is going, where, and this is my theory, that Georgiou is going to be leaving the show.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of kind of knew that was happening with the whole Section 31 show, which we knew she was heading, sort of in the background. That's why I think a lot of people, myself included, were sort of surprised when she stayed on for season 3 of Discovery. And it's kind of, it does make me wonder if the thing is going to be that she stays in the future, but it's a Section 31 show that's set in the future, or maybe is not locked into any particular time. I've seen that speculated about as well. We don't know.
Yeah, I lean hard on that theory as well.
But it also, it kind of had to enter the back of fans' minds, if they were, a lot of people were thinking, well, she'll get sent back in time and that'll be when the Section 31 show starts. But we know that time travel is a big no-no now. So that whole sending her back in time option has really been off the table for a while. So yeah, I think what we're gonna probably see is her transitioning off of Discovery and onto something else, whatever's next. That'll probably happy, what's happening with her character the remainder of the season.
Back on the Discovery, we have Stamets and Adira deciphering the mysterious distress signal, right? And there's a moment here that I think we can all relate to, especially in our tech-heavy world, where Adira gets frustrated that the program they were working on is not working. And, Adira is clearly, they are hitting their head over the console, like, what am I doing wrong here? What am I doing wrong here? Stamets comes in and points out, like, hey, it's okay. You forgot to reinitiate the program. You paused it, and you did some fixing, you did some tweaking or whatever. You came back, and you just simply forgot to reinitiate. And, as an engineer myself, I get it, working with complex systems.
Did you try turning it off and back on again thing? Like, good God. We've all been there.
And you just look around and you're like, really?
Yes,
did I?
Yes, I did.
Man. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, totally relatable, especially when you're under stress, you're trying to perform, you're trying to live up to expectations. I get it.
Brutal.
Yep. And at the same time, Adira also admits that Gray is still not talking to them. So they're feeling a little lost, right? And they're clearly feeling anxious, and so Adira is throwing themselves into the work.
Yeah, and they are actually starting to get some results now that it's actually up and running again, and the algorithm's working. They get results in pretty short order.
All right. So first off, I just want to point out that we have confirmation that it is not the USS Discovery sending the distress signal from the nebula. So let's get that out of this conversation right now, because I, for one, hated that theory. And
you understood why people went there, obviously, but yeah. The disco was apparently not the cause of the burn. At least not yet.
Not yet.
There's still plenty of time.
I mean, I feel like it's a 50-50 kind of a situation at this point. Yeah. But I definitely wasn't expecting it to be a Kelpian starship that was lost in the nebula that started
we learned
the
that
distress
the KSF Keith, led by at least the distress call was made by a Kelpian, a Dr. Isa, on this ship, the KSF Keith. This is the ship that's at the heart of the nebula, and this is the ship that's been sending out this distress call for the last 100+ years since shortly before the burn.
Right. So the Keith was investigating a dilithium nursery, which I thought was a very interesting takeaway here. Very interesting, facet to use as a plot point. And they sent out a distress signal. A Starfleet ship was sent to rescue them that never arrived. So who knows what may have happened. There's some speculation that it was destroyed trying to enter the Verubin Nebula. We don't know. But Tilly points out that Dr. Isa, the Kelpian, has radiation burns. And, we know that that's indicative of a serious accident regarding a antimatter core, which fuels warp drive.
There's also other exotic
these
radiation
burns
that could be in the nebula. We just don't know. Yeah.
Sure. But, it is established that radiation burns are a result of faulty warp cores and, like the accident that disfigured Captain Pike, and, here's some nice bit of canon I thought that this episode did a really good job in doing. In Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, you have Scotty holding his dead nephew in his arms, as a result of the explosion. In another callback to Wrath of Khan, Stamets is there. Yeah, he says that they can use the Kelpians' prefix code to get a backdoor into the system.
Prefix codes. We know what that
is. We know what that is.
Haven't heard that used since TNG.
Oh man, yeah, and a clever usage of it too, and it makes you wonder, like, hey, you can just use a prefix code.
It's a fun callback. It's one of those sorts of solutions that makes you think, wait a minute, there were so many other situations where they probably could have used this to help them out in out of a particular situation, and of course they don't. But that's just the way that works.
Well, I think it's one of those things where, do you have the right person who has that as an idea?
That's true.
Like if there are a million different ways to solve a problem, why would you always go to the one way?
This prefix code thing is pretty powerful. They're going to be able to tap into the ship's internal sensors at distance, which is pretty cool. So they're actually going to be able to get a sense of what's happening on that ship. It is worth noting that while she does have radiation burns, either whatever she was exposed to was not of a severe enough radiation level to kill her right away, or it's something that's been happening very slowly.
Right.
They've been there for at least 6 months at the point that the distress call gets sent out, because they mentioned that they haven't had contact with the rescue ship in 6 months. So they've been there for at least that long.
Right.
So whatever's going on isn't killing them quickly, if it is killing them at all.
Right. And Stamets mentions that the message is actually over a century old at this point.
Yeah, it's pre-burn.
And they are almost they're basically certain that it's pre-burn. And I got to tell you that Saru here was very contemplative and curious, seeing a Kelpian lead this science mission to the dilithium nursery.
It was a little hard to get a read on exactly what his reaction was. He seemed distracted at times. I'll be curious to see
That's a good way to put it.
What's going on there with him.
Yeah. Interesting. Tilly goes to debrief Admiral Vance, but Saru actually stops her.
Yeah, that was one of those moments where he seemed a little bit disconnected, almost a little distracted because of he had just watched the distress call, and he says no, that he's not going to bother with Admiral Vance until they have a little bit more information. Which I mean, honestly, that does make sense. If they're about to tap into the ship's sensors, like, he might as well wait until they do that to report back.
Exactly. You don't want to just give
that's sort of annoying. Like,
you want to give it to them all at once.
Like a million emails throughout the day outlining every task I asked you to do, or do I want one at the end of the day outlining everything you did that day? Like, that's what I want. I want a summary.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash. Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say. Your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
Available to players in the U.S., excluding Washington and Michigan. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
So back down on the planet, it's classic, the original series, I feel like, where you land in the middle of a planet and there's nothing around you, there's nobody to greet you, you just land there and you start walking.
Nice mirroring, again, imagery-wise, of the first episode of the series where Michael and Prime Giorgio are trekking across a barren desert planet, and now she and Mirror Giorgio are trekking across a barren wintry planet. And some of the shots themselves were fairly close references to some of the shots in that first episode. I went back and looked, and it's pretty clear that they were making a reference there. And they're jibber-jabbering away, walking along the barren Danis 5, snowy plains, and they stumble upon Carl, played by Paul Guilfoyle, reading a Star-Dispatch newspaper, the same newspaper in the City on the Edge of Forever episode of TOS, and immediately wondering if he's a guardian of forever somehow. Definitely getting the sort of TOS, TNG, omnipotent being vibes from him.
Yeah, so for listeners who may not have gone through the entire original series catalog, at this point, City on the Edge of Forever, written by Harlan Ellison, highly recommend to watch. It is among the best episodes of the original series, and it centers on a situation where Dr. McCoy goes through a portal back to 1930s New York City, and Captain Kirk and crew beam down. As they beam down, they're examining the area. The portal comes to life and claims it's the guardian of forever. It says time has irrevocably changed, and you have to go through this portal to fix what happened to maintain the timeline. So, interesting timey-wimey shenanigans here, because if Carl is in fact a guardian, then this is real. What's happening is real, and Giorgio can affect the timeline. However, we don't know that Carl is a guardian. It's still unclear. The only context we're given is the Star-Dispatch, which has headlines and some pictures showcasing 1930s Earth from where Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock went through after
there's a lot of stuff on there. There's some Vulcan script, there's some Bajoran, there's a couple of references to a few different episodes of Star Trek in a couple of different series. Pretty packed to the gills with Easter eggs, that little newspaper that he's reading.
Yeah, it's also tomorrow's paper, not today's.
Yes, of course. I think the motto on that newspaper is tomorrow's news today, so it's fitting.
Indeed. Carl's definitely one of these playful type of omnipotent entities,
mischievous,
if you will. He's mischievous. He speaks only in code. He puts up this portal right in the middle there. And as Burnham and Giorgio walk up, he greets them and says, what do you call a really cute portal? Adorable.
Yeah, he starts off with a couple of dad jokes. And then he gets very cryptic, and it's reminiscent to the, if you listen to the City on the Edge of Forever, the Guardian's speech, like it does remind you a little bit of that. It's this enigmatic, riddle-like way of talking. It's very little in the way of straight answers, and it's condescending as well, which Carl also has. So it checks some of those boxes for sure. But we've also seen other omnipotent beings in that mold, that Puck-like quality that they seem to all possess in Star Trek.
Carl at this point explains that Georgiou's condition will not worsen as she steps through the door, but very clearly states there are other ways to die. And this is the moment when Michael Burnham, she wants to stop Georgiou from doing this. They still don't have enough information. So Georgiou turns, and very clearly Georgiou's already made up her mind. She does not want to die of whatever it is that is affecting her, right? Of her molecules being ripped out, the interphasing. It's very painful. She doesn't want to die like that. She wants to go down fighting. And as far as she knows, walking through this door, there's an opportunity to fight. She says,
Michael, know when the hell to shut up, and steps right through it.
I gotta say, I think that was one of the most meta lines thrown at Michael.
A little self-aware. The writers were very self-aware in this episode. There was a lot of calling Michael and calling people in general on their shit.
Yeah, and at some point you want to see that. You want to be able to look at these characters and be like, you know what, you're being a doofus.
You do, but you do also want to see growth and change from that. It's not enough to just point it out. It
has to be worthwhile.
Or the fact that character refuses to change becomes one of the points of the story you're telling,
So Georgiou's got no choice. She goes through this door and walks through. And she finds herself
in the mirror universe.
On the ISS.
On the ISS Discovery, led by Captain Killy.
Captain Killy is back.
Welcomes her aboard the ISS Discovery.
Yo, it's so cool, man. I don't know about you, but I was like, shit.
Pretty nuts. I mean, she steps through and is greeted by, Captain Killy and the crew of the Discovery all chanting, Terra Firma, giving her the salute. And we learn that she is returned to the Mirror Universe on the day of the Charon's christening, which is also the day that Mirror Michael and Mirror Lorca betray her.
So it's a very transformative day. It's an opportunity for Georgiou to set straight some wrongs done by her.
Yeah, we get this sort of second chance. Georgiou seems to be approaching this day, as a sort of second chance. She's armed with foreknowledge of how this day unfolds, and she immediately sets about trying to change her past, essentially. She says to Killy, I know that Lorca is planning something, and Killy says, I wouldn't have anything to do with that. And I was going to tell you anyway, by the way. I was going to tell you this is going on. I was going to tell you. And so Georgiou is right away in the mode of I'm going to change history. She's going to try and save her Michael.
Yeah. She wants to do right by her Michael, right? Because she didn't get the chance
to. Or at least do less wrong by her. She doesn't want to kill her.
Right. And if we know anything about Terrans, it's that they do not respect these signs.
Mercy is a
weakness. That they call emotion and mercy. Yes. So Georgiou is threading some thin lines here with this. We'll see how it plays out in the second part. But throughout this whole Mirror Universe saga that we get to, man, there is some of the most fun, interesting moments of this season so far.
Yeah, they keep building out the Terran culture too, which is nice. It's the performances, the sort of trappings of Terranness, as it were, continue to be elevated and kind of campy. But they continue to build out the world of what it's like to exist on a Terran ship in in the Terran version of in this version of the universe where the Terrans reign instead of the Federation. And I think the world building all really works. We'll talk about it maybe in a little bit, but the little play that they do before the christening ceremony, that was great.
Yes.
I thought that was great.
I loved
it. Was a nice
it.
callback to those sorts of random performances that you get in TNG sometimes, and also, bringing audience, bringing this Terran audience into this weird sort of fake news version of history where you've got these grand violent actions being acted out, the elements of Giorgio's life being acted out in sort of operatic form. And the words that they're using are describing, the peace and love in the universe, and
peace and
you're
love,
looking at everyone
prosperity.
going, "Oh my God, what is this? Is insane."
Yeah, it's like, who are you trying to convince?
And so strange, we learn, something about their aesthetic. Either that's meant ironically, or for some reason their art, at least this form of it, does not reflect values that their culture actually holds in high regard. It's a really, it was an interesting sort of insight into this culture.
Yeah, what a dramatic performance, and I think that narration by Stamets describing how Giorgio rose from being this peasant girl to fight off the Klingons and become emperor, it's such a classic, pull from the Renaissance era, which, we know now, like TOS and TNG, they often did these types of things, to get away from the copyright issues, especially in TNG. That's why all the classical music was played, and they would use Shakespeare all the time, just because it was free for them to parrot. They didn't have to pay anybody for the rights to do it. But here in the Mirror Universe, this type of play really works.
It does, and we see her some of the the victories of Giorgio's past told in this way, and Stamets is speaking the narration of her exploits, and it's full of all this flowery language about defending against evil and how she's guided by light. Very strange given the contrast to what values they actually hold.
Yeah, I don't know terribly enough about East Asian culture to really kind of figure out what part of China or what part of Asia that particular imagery and type of play is from, but it's definitely very reminiscent of that type of play and art that you would see. As Giorgio stands up, she's about to give a speech, thanking everybody for coming, love seeing y'all here. Hope you got here okay, open bar, tip your bartenders. It's nothing like that. No. Instead, this is a way to rally her own loyalists and her own supporters because she knows the coup is coming. So she rises and she's speaking of strength and, very pointedly says enemies attacking from without and within. And she turns and she stabs Stamets, who had kind of like came up behind her with a dagger, but, she saw that shit coming, stabs him to death. And, she doesn't even blink. She resumes giving her speech, warning of the plot. And she walks back to her throne and she sits and, you see Michael Burnham just sitting there, mirror Michael Burnham, and she's stewing. She's angry. She's like, "Holy shit!"
She knows it.
I think I got found out.
One of those other things that we learned in season 1 when we went to the Mirror Universe was that Mirror Stamets was sort of in on it with Burnham and Lorca, and obviously history plays out a little bit differently this time because we know that Mirror Stamets didn't die in getting stabbed by in the neck during the christening ceremony. So. That much, that's sort of where I go back to, like, I don't really know how much of this is like real history going on. Like, I don't know like how much of the Mirror Universe is real history she's rewriting with her actions here, if she is at all.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, is this real or is this some kind of a some kind of a
and
fantasy?
Maybe we'll find out next.
Out.
I'm sure we probably will find out next week.
Oh yeah. So we kind of skipped over
did.
the whole mess hall scene that came just before this. And, a couple of really, not only was it fun to see some of the crew without some of the prosthetics. You'll notice Detmer didn't have the eyepiece. You had Sarah Middich back. You also had Rekha Sharma back, also from season 1. Battlestar Galactica alumni.
Landry's back.
So cool to see. So cool to see all these people back, and it was great. It was,
and now
no
that
complaints.
we've gotten more familiar with these faces, it's more fun for us as an audience to see these scenes and be like, oh, look, there's so-and-so doing this ridiculous mirror universe thing. They're all taking shots and zapping each other with their agonizers. It's crazy. They're all just going nuts.
Yep.
Just everyone was having a blast. Everyone's chewing up the scenery. And we have this, this meeting for the first time from Georgiou's perspective. It's been a very long time since she has seen, Mirror Michael.
Yeah.
And Mirror Mike sits down with her and they have this, very, very tense back and forth full of subtext. And at a certain point, there's an interaction with Mirror Saru. He's, of course, a Kelpian slave, and he brings Michael a glass of wine unasked, and she's prepared to kill him and serve him for dinner. And Georgiou intervenes to save Saru from Mirror Mike's wrath, and that raises some eyebrows. That's sort of the beginning of people reassessing, Georgiou's, whether she's actually cut out to be the supreme leader still. Is she losing her edge?
Right.
So she saves Saru and then actually has a nice serene back in her chambers with Saru. She basically pumps him for information nicely. She treats him much more nicely than she would have, back in season 1 where she was eating Kelpians. But she has a good scene with Saru in her chambers where she, establishes a bit of a rapport with him and basically pumps him for information about Mirror Michael and whatever her plans are.
Yeah, and Mirror Saru is very clearly taken aback by all of this, but he's not threatened, as is evident by his threat ganglion not appearing. And Georgiou calls this out. She's like, search your feelings, search yourself, that I'm not a threat to you right now. So tell me what I want to know, and it will stay that way. And he's also a little taken aback because just before Mirror Saru brings over the glass of wine unasked for, one of his Kelpian colleagues, unfortunately, stumbles and spills, something on Commander Landry, actually, Rekha Sharma. So, he spills this, and there's this whole mess of a scene, and this poor Kelpian is about to get butchered, and then they're like, take him away, take him away, take him away. And Mirror Saru leans down and says, do not worry, my friend, the madness will not get to you. So the Harai is still a thing in the Mirror universe, obviously. So, except now the threat is someone entirely different. And Mirror Saru is really taken aback because Georgiou knows about the Baharai and, understands why he doesn't understand how Georgiou could know this, considering where they are in this timeline. It doesn't make any sense to him. To him, it's, we're only grateful that you slaughter us before the Baharai
similar
can
to
get
the
to
relationship
us,
they had with the Baul.
So it's really clever, and, this is just smart, in my opinion. It's smart dictatorship-ing, I guess, because why wouldn't you want someone to be a spy for you? Why wouldn't you treat them with just enough kindness to get them to trust you and do something for you?
To build a better dictator, which I guess goes to, and we can get into this, maybe at the end, but if I have a problem with the episode, it's this sort of thing of, if we're going for a redemption arc, we're going for someone who's just a little less terrible. Maybe make meaningful differences. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, not being an out-and-out, indiscriminate murderer is one thing, but she's still clearly okay with murder and still clearly okay with all of the other trappings of brutal dictatorship. Right.
All the pageantry and the
all
flair
of this stuff is,
and the titles.
Right.
The 5-minute long title.
I think it's still a lingering question of is it too much to ask to kind of fit this square peg into this round hole of the sort of broader Star Trek ethos, trying to make this genocidal dictator work as a compelling main character?
But it kind of does work, because Mira Saru does spill the beans here, and he does say, like, hey, listen, Lorca and Burnham, they think you've become too weak. Yeah. They think you're a pushover, and it's time for a change. So Georgiou, she gets what she came for. She's got pure confirmation that she is where she is. This is happening, and she's not going to let it go down the way it did.
Exactly. She basically is making a move. She's making her moves to head Lorca and Michael.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything. Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business. Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot. Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me. Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com. Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Off at the pass, we'll see at the end of the episode when that comes to fruition. But yeah, then we go from that scene into Owo and Reese actually duking it out in the hallway for the role of security officer on board the Charon. We got a nice little fight scene between the two of them. Owo handles Reese pretty easily. It looks like he pretty
effectively.
It was a pretty brutal beatdown that she gave him. I was a little surprised that Burnham asked her to spare Reese at the end there. That struck me as a little bit of a surprise, but I get it.
What a great fight scene. I love the fight choreography.
Solid.
So following the whole pageant and display of...
Yeah, we get some really, really striking visuals too with Georgiou's costuming in this section. She's got this great...
Oh, great point.
Of course, wildly over the top, but sun crown that she's wearing. And it's not, well... Anyone who's listening to this has seen the episode, so I'm not going to bother describing it with words. You guys all know what it looks like. But a couple of striking shots, framing the sort of sun, or maybe the core of the Charon, I think in the back. Yeah, it was the core of the Charon in the background behind her in the open space of her crown. Really some striking visuals there. The costuming for this episode, all the Terrans, and for the Empress's clothes must have been so much fun to put together.
I'm fairly certain that they had a lot of that sitting in storage, being as it's the same set. And, one of the writers probably just walked in and was like,
this Terran gear that we,
I know how we can make it work.
But just so many nice little touches, the medical officers in those blood red uniforms instead of the white. Yeah,
in the red,
really,
yeah. Because it's going to be bloody, you may as well just let it blend in.
So yeah, we get her dispatching of Stamets pretty quickly, and then like you said, Michael's sort of stewing in her seat as she sees Stamets here, and she's going to make her move. She boards the Charon, but Georgiou is waiting for her to get the drop on her. Georgiou tries to get a confession out of Michael. She offers to spare her life, and this is something that sends Michael kind of over the edge. It's like, who are you? Like, Georgiou would never offer to spare anyone's life. What are you talking about? Like, especially not someone who betrayed her. Like, you'd kill someone for looking at you wrong. What are you talking about? Like, you'll forgive me you'll spare me if I confess. And so she just kind of, goes into this, like you're saying, this sort of way, she cracks, she goes into this sort of Joker mode. She's disgusted by, Georgiou's weakness, or perceived weakness. And she does confess. She's proud of it. She demands that Georgiou execute her on the spot. She basically calls her on it. I think she suspects that she won't do it. and that she'll show her weakness in front of her followers, and that will be her undoing. I'm pretty sure that's where they're going to go in the second episode. Giorgio can't do it. She can't kill her. She orders her agonized instead. Which again, it goes, that I just talked about this, I know, but it goes to this whole thing of like, okay, if this is Giorgio's redemption arc, we're essentially saying like, well, she's not a murderer now. She's just a torturer. It's fine, guys. It's fine. Giorgio's fine.
I mean, she's still doing the waterboarding, but at least she's not letting them drown.
Only torturing them. So get on board, everyone. Yeah. It's fine. I'm still a little skeptical.
There was a lot of calls and references to how Giorgio saved this mirror, Michael Burnham, off the top of a rubble heap, a trash heap, right? This pile of trash, whatever. And presumably, it sounds like it was some kind of an orphanage on some wrecked out planet or something, and Giorgio happened to just pick her up, right? But interesting here that Mirror Michael is said to have been the only one to not come running to her, to be the only one to be like, no, I'm not interested. I'm fine right where I am. I don't need your help. And that's kind of why Giorgio has this little piece of a heart for her, because she sees the fight. And, from Michael's perspective, it's, you stole me from where I was the king. I was the emperor of that trash heap. You took me from there. I'm only the second in command now. And I resent you for giving me all this because I didn't work for it. There's some kind of a strange pride and resentment element here where Giorgio, Burnham perceives Giorgio as using her to kind of like feel good about herself, to be like, look at this good thing I did. I'm so powerful. I'm the loving emperor and all this, juxtaposing all this torture and evil and murder and genocide. And she claims that Lorca's the only one who loves me for me. And, how could you do this? You should just kill me because I'll never, you want a confession? I'll never give you one,
Mirror Burnham has the devil thing. She'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven.
Yep. Exactly. So no matter how good Giorgio makes this for her, it's just not going to be there.
Yep. Yeah. And that was, I guess, the fundamental misunderstanding on Giorgio's. Like that's clearly something she never got. Otherwise, they wouldn't be having this conversation now.
So, I don't know, man. We got a whole second part we got to get to before we can really start thinking about what the story has in store for us. But
I'm eager to see what they've got in store. Did you watch the preview?
I did not.
Okay. Yeah. There wasn't much to it. It was mostly Michael Burnham being dragged to a cell.
Nice. Yeah.
About what you would expect. I don't even remember much else aside from that. So
nice.
Should be fun. I'm expecting for there to be serious consequences to her sparing Michael, obviously. And I don't really know what else to expect besides that. This whole mirror universe detour was unexpected. So, if there is one thing we can't really complain about, it's when a show surprises us. So
that's what we're here for. I want to be surprised. I don't want to be able to, foreshadow and see everything happen. I want to be excited and be like, whoa, that happened,
Absolutely. So what were some of your standout moments?
Ooh, standout moments. So two scenes for me, both taking place in the mirror universe. The whole play, the whole pageant, the put on display. I loved it. It was visually striking. We had great costuming. You had, Stamets kind of returning to his Broadway roots a little bit there. Anthony Rapp from Rent. Really cool. I kind of, would have loved, and this would have been so out of place, I know, but, if anyone could have figured it out, it's these writers. Some kind of a musical number in there would have just really turned the dial up to 11. It was already on 10, but it would have just nudged it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that Jonathan Frakes has said that he'd love to direct a musical episode of Star Trek, or at least have more of a musical component to an episode of Star Trek that he directs. So maybe we'll get something like that.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening on like Lower Decks or something.
Yeah. Or even like a wacky, interlude in something else, Strange New Worlds or something.
Yeah. I mentioned it earlier, but also Sonequa Martin Green's final scene, just basically playing Heath Ledger's The Joker. I just, that is the stuff that I'm talking about when I say standout. Something that really takes you out of that moment and makes you, as the audience member, feel so like unsettled and concerned and like, oh my God, what did I just watch?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. One of the big standout moments for me was actually just a visual transition when they're down on the planet, Michael and Giorgio, and they stumble upon Carl, and they're standing there in the snow. There's a shot that goes from the snow falling to the stars above the planet, and that visual transition was so cool. I just love that. Like that was the only shot in the episode that I actually went, holy shit. That was real nice. Real nice. More of that, please.
Yeah.
I like that. I had a couple of sort of outstanding questions.
Okay.
A couple of things kept nagging at me. One was going back to that interdimensional displacement restriction. I'm wondering if that indicates that universe jumping is more commonplace at some point in the future, similar to time travel, and whether we'll see because if there's a specific restriction on there, that to me indicates that like it's a common enough problem that we've got to address it. So I'm curious to see if that's something, if they get into at some point in the future a sort of Star Trek multiverse situation. I don't know. I'm just wondering if they're setting the table for some of that in the future. The other thing that I was wondering about was I'm a little unclear how widely known or accepted it is that the Zora sphere data computer merging situation. I mean, David Cronenberg makes mention to it. He said like, this is, this makes for, the stuff of movies, but, it's a little concerning that this has happened. And then we just let it happen, sort of address it after that. And it's a little unclear, like how widely known, like how many people know about this. Giorgio references Zora's sense of humor, which means that she must have had at least some interaction with her. Like, are people just having interactions with Zora now? I'm very interested to learn sort of what the crew's take on, hey, our computer is kind of sentient now is.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I really hope we get some time to reckon with this new piece of technology that the Discovery has. Leaving it out to just kind of, I guess just to be doesn't seem like a great idea, especially considering, as we said before, with the whole situation with Control.
Right. We've got to get more than a short trek and a little offhanded introduction to Saru of, oh, hi, I'm a personality that your computer now has.
Yep.
It feels like we need a little bit more there. But a lot of really fun stuff this week. I'm excited for next week.
Yeah, we did miss one thing. It was a quick moment with Cleveland Booker and Saru in the hallway.
You're right. I have it written down here. We totally skipped over it.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's a lot of fun stuff in here.
That was our little C-plot that we had in the background.
Yeah. So interesting that Booker is excited to be a part of the crew. He comes in and he's all gung-ho. He's like, Captain Saru, tell me what to do. And, Saru basically tells him like, hey, listen, happy that you're here. Keep helping us, and I know you're eager, but, you have to wait for an opportunity. And
yeah, Saru
very
also
reasonable.
tells them that we operate by the book here, and that means you got to learn the book. So be patient and wait for an opportunity to prove yourself in a way that is consistent with being a part of this team. Exactly. We do get some information that the Emerald Chain seems to be training. They're gearing up. They're gearing up for something. Quote unquote training exercises, which we know are military maneuvers.
Yep. So, Terra Firma Part 2, I'm sure we'll have a lot of resolution of a, certain Terran Empress's plot, followed by maybe some cool Starfleet shootouts. I don't know. I mean, I'm hurting for some new discovery and battle action. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I'd like to see what 32nd century combat looks like. I mean, we've obviously gotten a taste of it, but I mean, like proper, like starship to starship, like real shit.
Right.
I want to see some of that.
Yeah, take the gloves off. Take the gloves off. Come on.
Exactly.
Oh man, anything else?
No, I think that was it. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions or comments for us, at Starfleet Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can also email us.
Yes, at wearestарfleetwmtr@gmail.com.
Yes, I always forget that we have an email address.
So do I will be checking it. So yeah, if you guys ever want to send in a comment, question, I promise I will start checking that email, and we'll start bringing those up on the pod.
Yeah. If we get emails, we will actually read them on the show. So make them funny, make them good, I guess. Good questions.
Yeah, we can't promise to get to all of them. I mean, obviously, if we start getting as many as we'd like to get, we won't have time to do that. But in the meantime, in these early days of We Are Starfleet, send on in your emails.
Send them on in.
Yeah, first one that comes in will definitely get read.
Oh, yeah. You can follow us also as part of the We Made This Pod podcasting network, WeMadeThisPod.com, where you can find a whole host of different pop culture, movie, film, TV show type podcasts. Ian, anything else for us tonight?
No, I think that's it, man.
Sounds good. I'll see you on the next one.
All right. Have a good one.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Frame to frame.
Just that there's certain ways that Sean Connery delivered lines in the film that really sort of stuck with me. So when the room is on fire and they're tied up in the Nazis and they go into the fireplace and it spins around, and he just says, "Our situation has not improved." Just his delivery on that line is so dry and droll.
I love it when he goes, I find that if I just sit down, and then he sits in the seat, and then the seat goes, the solution presents itself. And he's already...
Cerebral Jukebox.
I had to sort of stop what I was doing and get to it, find out who it was, and see what else she'd done and find out a little bit more about her as well. And she's incredible. Like, I'm totally in love with her now as well.
I mean, just from going off what we're talking about there, it's sort of in her gap year, she learned how to arrange Mediterranean music and then went off and studied both Spanish medieval history and art in a gap year.
Yeah.
When you're not really supposed to be doing anything.
That's it, yeah, exactly. That's just nuts, isn't it?
Life's milestones.
What song did you pick as your first dance?
Oh.
We have...
I know it.
Yeah, you go ahead.
It's the song Good Day.
Oh, is that our first dance?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
No.
Yes.
Not our official first dance.
Yep.
No.
Yep. She's
That's
wrong.
That's a jukebox song.
Yep.
No.
It's the song Good Day by Jukebox the Ghost.
That's the first on the album, but that wasn't our first dance. You wrote a song for our first dance.
Oh, that's right, I did.
Amazing.
I did write a song.
You surprised me.
That's right, I did. I love that I forgot that.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.
We Are Starfleet is a podcast dedicated to Star Trek Discovery and how it relates to the story, ethos, and canon of Star Trek. Join your host, Mike Slammer, as he sits down with guests from all over the world to talk disco. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Starfleet Pod. Follow for more Star Trek podcasts, such as The Sanctuary, a politics and economics of Star Trek pod, Rarely Going, a Star Trek Lower Decks podcast, and Make It So, a Star Trek Picard podcast. We Are Starfleet is produced as part of the We Made This network of podcasts. We Made This brings together popular culture podcasts around film, TV, music, and more that hopefully educate, excite, and don't take themselves too seriously. Check us out at www.wemadethispod.com. Original music composed and performed by Anthony Fuscaldo.